All right, let's jump right in. We're about to go on a really fascinating journey into a family of words. And you'll see they all trace back to one single, incredibly powerful Latin verb. It's kind of like finding out that a whole bunch of people you know who you thought were unrelated are actually all part of the same, very influential family. So, meet our main character, the Latin verb ferre. Now, on the surface, it looks pretty simple. It just means to bear, to carry, or to bring. But don't let that fool you. This humble word is the ancestor, the root, of a whole empire of words we use in English every day. Think of it as the engine, the pure active force of carrying that's going to power everything we talk about. You know, a really good way to get a handle on this is to picture Ferre as this hardworking, all-purpose porter from ancient Rome. His only job is to carry stuff. That's it. But the magic happens when we give him directions. And those directions, they come from prefixes, which are like little signposts telling our porter where to go. And together, the porter and his directions create this massive family of words. Okay, first up, let's see our porter in action in the social world. We're going to look at how the simple act of carrying things between people actually creates the very words we use to describe how we interact with each other. Let's kick things off with a word we all know, probably a little too well, conference. It's built from just two parts. You've got the prefix con, which means together, and you've got our verb ferre, meaning to bring. So a conference, literally, is just the act of people bringing their ideas and their information together into one shared space. You can just picture it, right? Roman senators laying their arguments out on a physical table, which is really not that different from us putting our ideas on a slide for a team meeting. Even when you're on a video call, you're still part of this ancient tradition of bringing things together. All right, let's give our porter a new direction. Instead of bringing things together, what if he carries something down? Well, that gives us the word deference. The prefix D means down or away, so deference is literally the act of carrying down. And this is where it gets really cool, because you can see a physical action transforming into an abstract idea. The word deference captures that physical motion of lowering yourself to offer something up to someone with higher status. That very act of humbling yourself is baked right into the word's meaning. So when we show deference to authority, we are, linguistically speaking, acting out that ancient gesture of respect. And then, of course, there's a word that has a bit of a more negative feel: interference. Here, our porter is being told what to do by the prefix inter, which means between. So the literal meaning here is to carry between. Just think about what that means physically. You're carrying something and dropping it right in the middle of a path where it absolutely does not belong. That's why it means disruption. It's like static on the radio. That's an unwanted signal being carried between the radio station and your car. Or when someone interrupts a conversation, they are literally carrying their own thoughts into the space between the two speakers. So when you say, please don't interfere, you're really saying, hey, stop carrying your stuff into the middle of my business. Okay, so our porter has been busy carrying things between people. Now, let's give him some different cargo. We're moving away from the purely social and into the conceptual. This is where Ferre starts carrying abstract things, like thoughts, logic, and information. Before we get to the next word, a quick question for you. Ice cream or cake? Come on, you have to choose one. Just think about your choice for a second, because the very act of you making that decision leads us right into our next word. That choice you just made, that's a preference. And the reason why is right here in the word itself. It comes from pre, a Latin prefix that means before, combined with our porter, ferre, to carry. So a preference is literally the act of carrying something before all the other choices. So when you state a preference, you're not just passively pointing at something. Etymologically, you are actively picking up your choice and carrying it to the very front of the line. It's a really powerful way to think about making a choice, isn't it? So if preference is about carrying one thing forward, our next word, difference, is about pulling things in opposite directions. It uses the prefix dis, which means apart. So the action here is to carry apart. Imagine two things that you thought were basically the same. Now picture picking them up and carrying them off in two separate directions. It's that act of separation that creates the distinction, the difference between them. So the next time you ask, hey, what's the difference? What you're really asking is, what are the things that have been carried apart here? All right, now for a word that's a favorite of every detective and scientist out there. Inference. The prefix is in, meaning into, and of course, ferre is to bring. Put them together and you get to bring into. And that's exactly what you're doing when you make an inference. You're gathering up all these external facts, these clues, this evidence, and you are carrying them into your mind. You process them internally, and you come up with a new conclusion that wasn't just handed to you. So when you say, I can infer from your tone of voice that you're not happy, you're carrying that audio data into your brain to make a judgment. And a close cousin to that is the word reference. This one uses the prefix re, which means back or again. So a reference is, quite literally, the act of carrying back. Think about any bibliography or works cited page you've ever seen. That list of references, it's showing all the knowledge that the author has metaphorically carried back from other works to support their own point. Every time you cite a source, you're performing this act of referring, of carrying information from the past back into the present moment. So our porter isn't afraid to get his hands dirty in the physical world too. Let's take a look at how the act of carrying things across actual physical space has shaped our language. We've got two great examples here. First, circumference. The prefix circum means around, so the circumference is the line that gets carried around the edge of a circle. It's not just a number, it's a journey. And then there's transference, which comes from trans meaning across. It's the act of carrying something across a gap. We use it when we transfer money from one account to another, and it's also a huge term in psychology for the transference of feelings from one person onto another. And this is just incredible. This same ancient porter, this verb ferre, is at work inside our own bodies, on our own information superhighway. Neurologists use the words afference and efference. Afference, from the prefix ad, meaning to, describes all the sensory signals being carried to the brain. You touch a hot stove, that's an afferent signal. And efference, from ex meaning out, is the opposite. That's the command being carried out from the brain telling your muscles to pull your hand away. It's a constant, vital delivery system running on ferre. So, what's the big takeaway here? What's the legacy of our ancient porter? It's really just incredible to think that this one, single, hardworking verb, ferre, could build such a huge and diverse empire of words from the simple act of carrying. The method itself is so elegant and powerful. You start with the core action, ferre, to carry. Then you add a prefix that acts like a compass, giving that action a specific direction. Together, down, apart, back, across, into. And just like that, a new word is born with a precise meaning. And that ancient Roman porter, he's still doing his job every single time we speak. And that really brings us to a final thought. If you think about it, if language itself is the act of carrying meaning from one person's mind to another's, then we're all porters. So the next time you state a preference, or make an inference, or even just join a conference call, maybe take a second to remember that humble Roman verb at the heart of it all. And then ask yourself, what meaning am I choosing to carry into the world today?